Going for hatch first, and ooh, seeing this probe, he's still sending his drone to his third base. So even though Sen doesn't know if there's a forge or not, looking at that probe timing, he's saying, you're probably gone for the gate build, and I'm going to take the risk. And this is so Sen. He is so unafraid in his openings. He says, if you're going to cheese me, bring it on. I'm going to take the risk. And he goes for 3 hatcheries before pool. A fantastic ballsy opening from Sen.
Yeah, cheeky guy overall. Nexus is going to go down behind this, and it will be spotted instantly by that Overlord as it falls. But with that, I mean, is there any room to put any pressure on, like with a Zealot, or is there? I don't think he can really do much, right, against this.
Oh, well, GunGFu, he's put the Nexus down, but he's actually dropping a reactive forge. Rather than dropping his gases here, he wants to go for the reactive cannon rush. But notice how he's not building any Zealots, and he's going to throw down the gases as the Overlord sees it to make it look like he's doing a normal build.
Yeah.
Now, if Sen's on point, he'll realize that gas is late, and he may actually think, But at the same time, GunGFu is already starting the pylon at the third base. All he wants to do is cancel the third. He's still doing an economic build at home, just a small commitment, and if he can cancel the third, it's fantastic. But he sees the forge! And this is where Sen is going to have to react so quickly. But with a cannon already down behind the minerals, what can he possibly do?
Yeah, very, very difficult to deny. Even if any units got over there, they would still just be thwarted by an extra pylon that would go down here for GunGFuBanda if he's keeping his eyes on it. And yes, he is. So, but it's only a drone.
Creep spread's going to come out though. So, GunGFu, he needs to figure out if he's going to try to protect this. I need to put more cannons down, because if Sen can hold on to the hatchery and shut down the cannons with just Zerglings and Queens, which it looks like he's committing, then that's going to be huge. And with only 2 cannons, I'm not sure if this is going to be able to take the hatchery out for GunGFu.
14 Lings in production here for Sen. The probe's going to head on up. He sees a few other Lings, sees maybe a few more hatch here. And then once he's able to spot those...
Oh, yep, spots a few more hatching. He's got the information, so he knows, but he's already committed as much as he can. Because the probe goes down, looks like GunGFu is committed. He's going to say, okay, at least if I force enough Zerglings out, this should be okay. But Sen is committing a huge amount to hang on.
Yeah.
If he loses the hatchery, he is just incredibly far behind, because he's all these Zerglings. That's a lack of drones. He's got to get in there right now and shut this down.
All the Queens coming along to help this out as well. Going to go on towards the cannon. The second one's going to take some damage as well. They're focusing on towards that hatchery though. And will he be able to kill it in time? It's going to be very, very close. And it does go down just before the cannon gets cleaned up. Big pickup here for GunGFuBanda.
Sen goes in just a few seconds too late. He misjudges it. GunGFu with the clutch call just focus fires the hatchery from the first second and takes it down. And that's a huge win for GunGFu.
I have to ask, wouldn't have going for the pylon have been more effective? In that, just shutting them down from being able to fire and stop them?
Maybe, but he did have huge surface area on the first cannon, so I can see why he kind of went for that with the original wraparound. A really tough call to make, but right now, Sen looking to do something with these Zerglings. He needs to try to get some value from them, because that is such a huge investment that's done nothing for him so far.
Go block off from GunGFuBanda. 32 workers against 32 workers at the moment. As you say, with all of those Lings not being able to do anything, it's such a good point to bring up, because all of those Lings could have been so many more drones across those 3 bases. Alas, it is not. And now it's very, very even economically.
Fantastic opening here from GunGFu, really dictating the pace of this game so far, absolutely shutting down any usefulness these Zerglings are having, and it looks like GunGFu just dropping the gases in his natural at the same time, wants to be heading towards probably a third base with Sentries and Stalkers, the very standard sort of playstyle. He's got his +1 on the way. GunGFu going into a very typical Protoss play, but from this position of advantage, and he realizes that Sen's options are now very limited.
Yeah, and I mean, who's really to blame GunGFuBanda here if he tries to go towards the third base, gets himself +2 and Blink up and running, has tons and tons of gateways, and is able to just power on across with that kind of critical mass Stalker play that we've seen before out of our European Protoss brethren. They've been able to make wonders work with that composition.
Looks like these Zerglings looking to poke around, but GunGFu just going to take that third base. Sen opting for the Roach Warren in the lair behind this, going to be going into that Roach style of play and dropping a double evolution chamber as well. Looks like he does want to focus a lot on his ground army. He's shown in the past he loves the Roach Hydra based play, so I would, if I was a betting man, I'd say that's where he's going to be heading.
All right, well, already we have the Hallucinated Phoenix coming out here just to be able to keep eyes and tabs on exactly how far his opponent is in tech. Sees that the layers on the way. See what he can find out in the natural. Sees that the 2 evolutions are just popping. So didn't quite see the Roach Warren towards the back, but I think he can pretty much infer that it's going to be a I was going to say a ranged tile, but it's actually going into melee.
You know, actually, I guess seeing the delayed Evo chambers like this and next to each other, it may indicate that, because you do often see the kind of double evolution chamber at the same time with the melee style. Of course, no way for Sen to tell just yet, and he is going to push across the map, and he's going to try and pressure. He wants to just slow down Sen from adding on drones, but if we look at that worker count, Sen's caught up very nicely. He's gone right to 70 workers, and he's now trying to get roaches out desperately because he wants to defend this pressure without taking any drone losses.
Into first person now, as we see GunGFuBanda trying to loop on around here, get himself creep denial. That's a good start of things. Even just trying to saturate his third location, but throwing down extra gateways, completing those walls so he can't be vulnerable to any of those counterattacks. And at the same time, of course, this army is always got the insurance policy of being able to recall out. He just wants to continue to force these units out from Sen.
Oh, some force fields coming down, but doesn't get a lot with it, and that's a lot of Zerg units. I don't know if GunGfu can really push in.
Got to be very careful about that. Throwing down the Robo behind it as well here. With +2 and Blink still on the way. Infestation Pit's already gone down. And now this is where GunGFuBanda really needs good information as to what's going on there in regards to his opponent's setup, where he's the direction of this game is going. Because a lot of roaches can often mean the opposite, but GunGfu needs all the intel he can get.
GunGfu being forced to retreat here. Sen is out for blood, wants to trap these units. Oh, it does stall for just a moment though, and it looks like GunGfu with this tactical retreat is doing very well, picking up a lot of speedlings as he falls back, but he's using up a lot of force fields, and this is a very fearsome number of roaches, so GunGfu needs to be a bit worried about the counterattack.
Yeah, and we'll recall out now. The longer he delayed the recall, actually, the more opportunity the roaches would have had to counterattack, because he would have been closer. But the hive is morphing in. So is the Spire as well. +2 and Blink going down here for GunGfu. They're about to finish up, but again, still needs good intel. He flies in, he sees the hive morphing in there with his hallucinated Phoenix, which is very important here.
What an important scout. Seeing no Hydralisks out, a large Zergling count, he knows exactly what's happening. And we do see a Templar Archives going down. GunGfu wanting to round out his tech maybe with some Storms, some Archons to buffer, and he's already adding Immortals into his composition to deal with these roaches. Of course, GunGfu, more of an early to mid-tier player though, may be uncomfortable. When we see Broodlords enter the fray in the near future, we already see an Infestor in production, and fascinatingly, a Hydralisk then out of Sen. That would be a really weird transition after you've already gone for this Zergling-based upgrades and this Broodlord play.
I guess he just wants all options available to him here against GunGfu, as he is posing a little bit of a threat outside towards this. Of course, there's the also the Warp Prism in production here that can try and buy him some time, but it looks like GunGfu is really not pressing any issues at all. He is just sitting around and waiting for things to happen to him.
Sen does realize how fearsome this army is. He doesn't have any upgrades on the roaches except for roach speed, and he doesn't have that many Zerglings out yet, so afraid of a timing, he's actually building Hydralisks right now. 13 Hydralisks, but no range upgrade for them, no range upgrade at all, in fact, and putting down an Ultra Cavern. Sen going in multiple directions with his tech. He seems a little bit unsure of how to deal with this pressure.
Yep, and with this actually being sacrificed off basically this base completely, that's a really nice pickup here for GunGFuBanda, who does start to press the issue. Even some Zealots towards the left-hand side. He sees a lot of Hydralisks popping down there, which could be a good sign that your opponent's panicking at this point.
Sen really is panicking right now. He had the numbers to handle this a lot easier by just reacting maybe with Zerglings. But GunGfu, look at his supply. He's only at 145. He's investing in upgrades, Storm, and tech at home right now. That was really a light pressure, and yet he got a fourth base, killed a few drones in the third, really limited Sen's ability to expand from here. And only now does Sen actually start the Great Aspire. It looked like it was his plan from early on, but what we're seeing from Sen is a lot of divergent tech trees that don't really complement each other. He's only now adding on Hydra range, but he's adding Ultras and Broodlords and a single Infestor. I'm not really sure if Sen's army is coming together just yet. A few minutes down the line, it's going to be fantastic, but right now, it's a little bit awkward.
When you've got one of everything, how are you supposed to counter it? You can't counter everything. Although sheer numbers might help. Yeah,
I mean, if the Hydras and Roaches make the bulk of your army and they don't have any attack upgrades, that's a real bummer. And Sen, he's got the Ultras on the way. They will have 2-2. They will have Chitinous Plating in about a minute and a half's time, so his army will be much stronger then. But it looks like GunGfu doesn't want to give him the time. GunGfu's at 175 supply. He has a lot of Storms in here, a lot of Immortals. This is a very scary army.
Yeah, against Roach Hydra alone, and especially with the Hydras are hit by Storms, they will be shredded up very quickly. GunGfu pressing the issue, throwing down force fields, trying to cut things off, sees the Ultralisks on towards the third base here. They're currently isolated away. Time Warp as well as Storm does hit some of this army, and that is a very, very small paltry force on this right-hand side indeed, with a good Storm hitting in the middle of them. Ultralisk going to come from the back side here, but actually denied the movement forwards there by even just a sentry that was separated off forwards. Those two Ultralisks had nothing done.
Low numbers of units coming in piecemeal, a few at a time. GunGFu with the Zealot distraction on the south split the army in two, isolated half of it, destroyed it, and then cleaned up the other half when it came in too late. Beautiful maneuver from GunGFu. Sen falling apart a little bit underneath the pressure. He needs to try and remax, but look at how fearsome this Protoss ball is.
And now he sees the Great Aspire in this location as well. There's going to be the fungal growth down, but the concave here for the Protoss is good. The two Ultralisks are going to melt away at the front, and there are very few units left here for him. Aside from these Ultralisks that have actually just been able to swell up forwards, but as long as he's able to just blink back with some of these units, all these Ultralisks are going to fall again. Lings are going to filter through, but there's still too many Stalkers for him to actually break this location.
Oh, those Immortals did so much work. They took out 3 or 4 of those Ultralisks very quickly, and now an Archon at the front, being the anti-Zergling cannon that he is. GunGFu is on top of Sen's production. There's no way for Sen to get his reinforcements together, and GunGFu is going to push in with the finishing blow.
Oh, even the Great Aspire falling is an odd choice to put it there. I mean, a little bit hidden, I suppose, if you're hiding in plain sight, but once this location gets breached, it is all done. GG.